I do notice that, my, no, and I do hear this a lot when I'm working with kids, where, people say, oh, I'll just do stick people.
Right.
I think another thing too is I chose to do it in black and white,
Okay.
so that was different.
Yep, some people used color, others didn't. And I did notice some people did stick people, other people did a lot more detail with like clothes and hands and things like that. Yep. Right. Did anyone just go super uber with like eyelashes and super detailed or anything like that? No, not that level of detail. Okay. What did they start with? Was there anything a bit unusual about what they started with? Did anyone start with what they were doing, like the scene versus the actual people?
You started with the people twice, and then once she started with the scene, she was able to complete it.
Okay. And with this, we're not analyzing like, ooh, that means something. Okay, this is just observing. This is just observation. Okay. How about talking? Was there anyone who talked the whole time just nonstop and was describing and going? Did you notice yourself doing that? Was there anyone who did not talk? They were just in. Okay. Or how about, did anyone make comments about, oh, this is terrible. It's not how coming out how I want. Ugh. It's like I feel like, okay, right? Did anyone just start over because they just were not happy with it? Okay. Okay. All kind of process things just to kind of notice. Was anyone proud or pleased? They were like, seemed happy with their drawings.
Yeah. To copy your paper.
No, no, did not enjoy this activity. Okay. And then how about what they talked about? What was that like? What was it like when you talked about having to describe the? I did feel the anxiety kind of increase as you guys did it, so I can say that. What was it like?
When we were telling our partner what we drew?
Either one. Were you feeling self-conscious about it? Like, what should I say?
Probably a little bit, like a little vulnerable, you know, because it's kind of a little window to something.
Especially
about
knowing we're
yourself.
talking about projectives.
Yeah.
I know I felt a little bit like, because Teresa drew this really pretty picture of a family eating dinner together. And that's something that I always wanted to incorporate into my family, but we've never done it, so I felt a little self-conscious, like, oh, I should be doing that. Should be doing that.
Teresa sent me a message.
Yeah, she said it. She probably is. I didn't even know.
I thought Michelle was really like insightful, because she looked at my drawing. I have like this picnic scene, and I had water off to the side, but I really didn't know how to draw it. And so she said, oh, it kind of looks like it's impending doom coming in on the family. And I thought, yeah, as a matter of fact, the mom's going to get hit, and she's the main wage earner. She's going to lose her job.
And how does that relate? How does that relate to your life?
I didn't even realize I did that.
And did you know you were worried about that?
I didn't even know it.
Okay, good. Great example. Okay, and what about, so you talked a little bit about kind of the content with the water and things like that, and brought out a little bit about the meaning. How about anything different about colors utilized? Were you surprised by, did anyone do like blue fire or something? Was anyone surprised by colors used? Blue fire.
Mine was due to limited
Did you do blue fire?
selection.
Did I guess it?
All my people are
You
also
didn't know I'm also
red.
psychic.
Mine are also red. And my dog is 2 colors because I didn't like the first color.
Okay. How about pressure? Does anyone just really, really press hard, or is anyone just super light that you couldn't really even see what was going on? No? Pretty good? Okay. How about on your people? What were the depicted emotions?
No emotions, honestly.
No emotions?
Just blank.
There's nothing that you're so happy with.
Or they,
That's
oh,
okay.
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 The essentials.
The essentials.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fairness.
And as I told you the story, did they describe the relationship? Were the people interacting positively? Was anyone talking about fighting? Were there people closer together that were like unusually close together compared to others?
Well, I noticed in Matt's picture, the in-laws were kind of sneaking up on him.
Yeah.
So I asked about the relationship, and he said it's good, but just they come around a little too much. I assured him it was not to see him, it was to see his child.
Yeah.
But,
And then you don't have to tell me what, but were there other things that you noticed in your own drawing as you talked about that you were like, oh, does that kind of apply to me? Like Kelly had the aha moment. Does anyone else have that experience? You know, tell me what it is. Maybe not so much. Okay.
I don't know why, but I didn't draw my family.
And I didn't do that instruction. Normally when I do this with kids, I will have them draw their family, but because this is just more of a training purpose, I didn't want you to feel pressured to draw your family. You might have gotten a little bit more from that, but I just wanted to keep it a little bit more neutral and give you the choice of if you wanted to do yours or someone else's, so.
So what if the kid draws his family as like animals or like the son, his dad's the son? I mean.
Then I would have them, the main thing, so is then having them tell you about
Right, what that means.
what that means to them.
I was struck too that it was somewhat, like it's age related, because if I were 30 years younger, I might have drawn a little bit differently, but this was more of a grandparent saying, parents saying.
It just reminded me of another activity where you list the members of your family and then a color for each one and then an animal for each one that would represent.
Animals are a good thing to use with kids, and even in talking about the drawings, you know, and then having, if they draw an animal, what would the animal say? You know, you can use that, go with it. And just you're trying to get their perspective on why did they choose a lion, or why would dad be the sun, right? Is it about warmth? Is it the sun's burning down? You know, a sun can be different meanings. So it's really asking them questions to try to prompt that kind of explanation so you can see it how they see it.
I think that sometimes people have really different ways of seeing things too, because Perry and I took a personality class one time together at a church, and they had like a bottle of wine, a basket of fruit, and just different things sitting there, and they said, you know, kind of write down what it is that you see. And everyone in the room literally saw a bottle of wine, a basket of fruit, except my husband, who saw a baby in a basket. It's like, I mean, just, you know, your personality, and he's a very creative musician type person, and
Right.
he saw things very figuratively instead of literally.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that sometimes this needs to be explained. You know, why did you see it that way?
Exactly, and definitely whenever I do this, I'm always engaging in conversation. It's not just draw me a family, then I'm gonna take it into my office and just analyze it. It's not how it works. You have to have the conversation about it so you can see it how they see it. It's really trying to understand their perspective. And even in a situation like this, you know, we're all adults. We know we're talking about projectives. You know, we know that I have some experience with this stuff. So how heightened are our defenses today, right, doing this activity? Especially knowing each other, that we all kind of know about this stuff, our defenses are probably a little bit heightened, right? So that's also going to play a role into how much we're willing or not willing to kind of disclose or to really go with it. Whereas kids, right, generally a little bit less defended, and things like that. And even as you're doing the activity, right, there was a lot of laughing. Well, humor is one of the highest defenses, okay? So just putting that out there. Okay, we all use defenses, like I mentioned before. It's not a bad thing. We all need them. All use them. Okay. And so the main points with the projective is, again, you want to look at both the process and the content. Okay. It's also trying to understand, see it through their lens of how they perceive their own depiction of whatever it is. Never use that just one measure in isolation. You know, I'm not doing a kinetic family drawing and saying, okay, I'm going to diagnose them with these issues, or house tree person, oh, they're, you know, they have psychopathology. That's not really how it works. It's more of an exploration, more of an understanding type of things. Next. So talking a little bit about the subtle differences in assessment. Again, I get the one-time shot right there in my office for 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it is. Projectives I will generally do last, because again, the relationship with whoever it is doing it, which we'll talk a little bit more about, is also very important. So I want them to be at the highest level of comfort as they can be, given the limited period of time that they know me. So we'll do that towards the end after the rapport is hopefully a little bit established. So it's a one-time thing, using more exploration, and I'm using it more as adjunctive or just a little bit more support for other stuff that I'm already looking at, already measuring. Okay, so it's just a little bit more information, not just in itself. With therapy, what's great is you can use it throughout treatment. Okay, you can do a family drawing every week. Okay, you can do it as often as you'd like, because again, it's just more of the exploration. And it's actually interesting to see if you have them do some type of drawing like with themselves. How does that change through the progress of your therapy? Okay, how does that even change? We'll talk a little bit more. And are there any changes or any subtle differences? Questions so far? Is the three? You got it?
I changed the line.
Oh, well, there we go. Okay. So most commonly utilized projectives, right? We have Rorschach, and I just think he's a hottie, so I like to show him.
He's bread.
Right? Little Brad Pittish, right? It's attractive. So whenever I talk about the Rorschach, I like to include this picture. Little eye candy. The TAT, thematic apperception test, which we'll talk a little bit more. The picture that I showed you is from the children's apperception test. So the thematic apperception test is for adults. And then incomplete sentences, which you guys filled out some of the questions for. It's actually more than that, so we'll talk a little bit more about those. So those are kind of the most commonly utilized projectives. And then there's drawings, of course, and we'll talk about all the different kind of drawings and things you can use. And then I forgot to mention, I know we're here for 2 hours, so if you guys do you guys want to break kind of in between? Well, I'll kind of see how you guys are doing, and then we'll see if we just need to stand up or stretch.
I have a question about George.
Sure.
So did he create those images?
Yes. So, well, there was a series of different ones, and so, but the way with the scoring, he created them, but then the research, there's different scoring systems. It's very cumbersome, like you can do a whole course just on analyzing the Rorschach. Luckily, there's computer programs now where you just input the responses. So basically, the way the Rorschach works is it's just one image at a time. So you have one image, you show them the card, and people see many different things, tell me what you see in the picture, and so you're just writing down what they see. So, I don't know, they see butterfly, and you usually want like 2 responses.
Birds, or like a winged animal.
Right, or something.
Always.
Right. And if it's not, then that's a whole other story, right? If they're like, oh, it's my mom or something, right? And then you go back and you say, okay, so now I want to make sure that I see it how you see it. So tell me where you see butterfly. So, oh, there's 1 wing, there's 2 wings, and so you're noting how they're seeing it, and then the scoring is kind of based on that. Are they using the overall shape? Are they using color? Is it movement? Is it that it's flying? Things like that. So it's pretty detailed scoring, and then over the years, the research about different personalities, psychopathology, different things that kind of relate to different responses. So, yeah. I don't think I've used it since I've been here because we don't have the scoring program, and I just do not want to take that to do by hand. And that you can do with kids and adults. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about drawings. So the thing about drawings, they're so great because they allow kids to communicate non-verbally, right? Especially if you have younger children who just don't have great verbal expression, children with language deficits, any of those kind of issues. It's just a really great way to get them to kind of communicate with you in a way that they don't have to use the words if that's not their strength. And through the drawings, you can explore their thoughts, feelings, ideas, right? Their hopes, wishes, and it can really be a catalyst for interaction and interchange, right? It's just kind of a fun activity to do with them, a little bit less threatening than, let's sit here and talk at each other, versus doing something together and kind of a creative process really creates a different kind of dynamic. And through that, you'll get statements of both conscious and unconscious material, right? So you're gonna get, hopefully, at those both little tidbits. But again, it's very complex, because in drawing, you think, oh, you just draw a picture, but it's more than that. You have to choose what you're gonna use to draw. You're gonna have to choose what it is that you're gonna draw, how you're gonna do it, and then actually, arranging the lines, shapes, colors, right? It's kind of complex to convey this one thought, this one feeling, this one kind of image that you have in your head that you wanna get out. And again, how do kids arrive at the images they draw? How did you guys choose what to draw, right? Did you apply it to your own life? Was it something you saw in a movie? Was it something that you kind of just thought up of, right? And how are they choosing that? So again, it can be from memory, right? Maybe perhaps based on something that they remember of their own experience, something they saw, something they heard. Imagination, did they just create it? Okay. Kids are big into fantasy. Perhaps they created this kind of perception. Or is it based on their life? Okay. And by life, that means more like with the wine and are they seeing something and then drawing it. So if you have a painting of a family in your office and they're drawing that, okay, kind of using that from the life. And drawing isn't just drawing, okay? It's a lot more than that, because they'll use it in different ways. And the book that I have, if you guys want to take a look at that, I think is really great for kind of, I used it in an introductory class, Understanding Children's Drawings, kind of goes through the different ways to use it more in a therapy type of setting versus assessment, which I think is great. So if you guys want to browse that, it's in my office, and this information is coming from there. And it goes really into detail of the different ways children can use it, right? There's younger children, precursory activities, think of scribbling, smearing, if you're using paints, things like that, kind of more abstract type of way of using it, just exploring, perhaps exploring the material, but not necessarily doing anything. You know, with Play-Doh, paint, are they just kind of playing with it, but not really doing anything with it? Okay, just more exploration of the material itself. Chaotic discharge, are they spilling, splashing, pounding? Probably some of the kids that we see would enjoy doing that kind of stuff. Are they being destructive, you know, breaking things? Are they painting your desk for you? Okay, painting your wall? Art in the service of defense, are they kind of really defended, so they're just either copying, tracing, just using conventional type of stick figures when you know there's a little bit more they can do, not including details, right? Do it seem like a little bit defended? Is it more pictorial communication but not using words, or then is it more actual expression? There are symbolic configurations that will serve both self-expression and communication, so really putting themselves into what it is that they're doing. And other factors to consider as you're doing any drawings is the materials, okay? My materials, unfortunately, are dollar store because I didn't want to spend a lot. So, but if you're going to use them more regular, I recommend using good quality types of materials because I had dollar store crayons and they kept breaking. They break all the time, and so it's very frustrating, very annoying, and irritating. Okay, and then what is that communicating to the person, right? I can't spend an extra $1 to get you something that's not going to break, right? Or is it just creating frustration? So make sure you have decent quality types of material. The environment, where are you doing these drawings, right? Are you trying to do it out in the lobby in front of everyone else? Okay, that's probably not going to be the most conducive. You want to do it kind of in a safe place that they're familiar with, feel comfortable with. You know, our mom and dad in the room, okay? That can be a little anxiety producing. Who else is in the room? And then your relationship with them. Okay, is this someone that's new to you? Is it someone that trusts you? Because again, that's going to matter and can show up in the drawing. So as an example, that's in the book. Oops. There it is. So this is based, I think, on a 9-year-old girl that they did an hour-long interview, and they did house tree person. And they had her draw the house tree person 3 times during that 1-hour interview. Okay? So it started here, right? Just kind of very simple, not much with the tree. And if we're going to go and just analyze based on that, what would we say? Oh, that's not good.
No.
But again, later on, as the report built, you can see a lot more details. And then here she asked if she can do flowers instead of trees. Okay, so she's getting more comfortable. She's asserting herself, kind of speaking her mind, expressing her interests. And then we get a lot more detail. And she even talks about the person being happy and different things. Okay, so the relationship will matter, and kind of when you use this has to be pretty intentional. What was that?
Looks like the house is falling off the cliff.
And I think this is a girl, I think she was in a domestic violence shelter. There's some issues with the home stuff, but yeah. Questions so far? Huh?
There's someone in the house in that one.
Yeah. Is there? There's something in the house, right? Yeah. And then that's when you would ask, well, we'll talk about the house tree person a little bit, questions that you ask and things like that. Okay. And so again, drawing is not just drawing. There's also a developmental progression to drawing. Okay, it's been researched, there's books on it. This is based on Lowenfield's theory, but most kids, no matter where they are, will go through, usually through a predictable series of different types of skills with artistic expression. Okay, and there's, according to Lowenfield, 6 major stages. Other people have 3, other people have more. Just kind of picked his for simplicity of it. Scribbling, right? Most kids will start with scribbling. Lines, circles, just think of the little ones. just kind of scribbling around. By the end, they might start naming their scribbles, right? They might have the circle with like the 2 feet or something, that might be a person, okay? Then you get to a little bit more representational symbols, then it keeps going, more increasing complexity. You don't need to go through them, but at the end, with the adolescents, it's more sophisticated and detailed. Some kids don't reach the stage unless you're encouraged to make kind of art. It's more of, I don't even know if I've reached that. I'm not an artist, so more information for you. And these kind of apply to Piaget's theory of cognitive development. They kind of coincide with some of those. So if you want more information on that, I can give you, but so by here would be into the operation, formal operation. Okay. And so like I mentioned, drawings are a narrative, okay? It gives you the potential to tell a story, to use metaphors, to describe something, to explore, you know, a way to present yourself through the responses to the images, okay? And it allows the child to offer the therapist a way of understanding meaning from their perspective. Again, it's about the child's perspective, okay? A child might draw something, you know, about their family, you know, perhaps they're drawing dad hating mom or something like that, but you know that there's no DV going on, so you might think, oh, is there really DV going on? Okay, but unless you're really exploring with them, getting their perspective on why they drew that, it might just be that mom and dad had a little tiff in the morning, right? But they're just over dramatizing it, okay? So it's really understanding from their perspective. And it doesn't have to be verbal, okay? Drawings themselves can be age appropriate and in fact a form of narration. So if you get a drawing here, and say if, I don't know, a 7-year-old drew this, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty good, pretty advanced, right? But if I told you it was an adult, if I drew that, I'd be like, oh, right? Because again, it's supposed to be developmental. So it can give you information just if you get nothing else.
I think it looks pretty good.
I don't think
It's
I
not
can
so
draw
bad,
it
but
well.
I have a different example. Okay. So what's your role in the whole process? You're kind of the witness. Okay? That's why I had you guys observe each other, because that's really what it's going to be like. You're going to sit there and observe. You're the witness to the creative work, to the genius masterpieces that you guys created this morning. Okay? You get to be witness to it. And you can also be a helper with the materials and the tasks. You know, with the thing I like about therapy versus testing is with testing, I have a lot more limitations to how I'm supposed to use the materials, how I'm supposed to interfere with the process, right? Through testing, we're supposed to just kind of sit back and let them go with it, right? Because we want to see what they can do. With therapy, you can be the helper, right? If the child is struggling, wants you to participate, that's okay, okay? You can do that. If they struggle with any of the materials, you know, if their pencil breaks, colors break, right? You can help them sharpen, right? So it's kind of engaging in that interpersonal process. You can sustain them in the creative process, right? If the kid's getting really frustrated, bored, whatever it is, you can kind of engage them and intervene to kind of help them so they can complete that and have that sense of completion, of satisfaction of that they were able to complete it all the way through. You can be a receptacle for any powerful feelings that might arise, right? So if they're getting really frustrated because their person's not coming out how they want, right? That's material right there where you can kind of intervene and engage with them. Do we need to stop for a minute and kind of do some emotion regulation? Is what they're drawing kind of creating a reaction that you're noticing, right? Is it not that they're struggling, but as they're drawing their family, they're becoming agitated and aggressive, right? What is that communicating to you? What are they telling you in that moment? You also maintain a safe space and healing factor, right? It's through that positive interpersonal relationship that we're utilizing to kind of be that healing force, that healing power, right? And through the drawing, through your relationship, the children can kind of experiment and they can play and kind of explore and have that positive experience that perhaps they're not able to have other places or just have not had yet. And yet they can still express themselves. So they're feeling that they are being at least witnessed or heard or seen. And can help you gain clearer and more accurate view of the conscious at work. Okay, can kind of give you that little window into what's perhaps going on. But it can be tricky, right? What's your comfort level with drawing, okay? I heard a lot of comments of, oh, I haven't drawn in years, right? So what's our comfort level with drawing? What's our comfort level with just sitting and watching, right? Are we the kind of person we want to sit and watch, we want to draw too, or we want to help them because they're not doing it exactly how we want? Or is it that they want our help, but we're like, oh, I don't really know how to draw, I don't want to mess it up, right? So really being kind of cognizant of yourself and your own process, and how comfortable are you with that type of interaction? And are you able to just sit there if the child just is drawing and doesn't even acknowledge you? Can you just sit there? Okay? Or is that going to be anxiety producing for you? So it can be pretty tricky, especially if it's not something that you're very familiar with. So what do you do if you get the resistant child, which I've had a couple, to say the least? Okay. Encouragement, right? Just trying to be a little bit supportive, getting them motivated to kind of keep going, to finish through. Okay. I can remind them of the prompt, perhaps, if they, I tell them draw your family and they're drawing, something else that just does not relate. Again, you have to be careful with that, because if they're using metaphors, perhaps if they're drawing the zoo, could that be a metaphor for the family? Do I want to stop them and say, no, draw your family? Perhaps the zoo is their family. Okay? So you kind of want to be careful with that. Sometimes what'll help if they're just not even wanting to do it, they're just like, not going to happen, I can't draw, I'm not good at this, I don't know how to draw, I don't know how to do that. Sometimes I might start them off, like I might draw a head, okay, and then I'm slowly drawing and they're telling me. And then most kids at some point will kind of want to take over and kind of take that over from you, and so you let them, okay? Or even if they're just directing you, that's okay, because that's still going to give you information, okay? And then sometimes if I'm more an assessment, it's more an assessment with a kid, if they're telling me to draw something and I might mess up a little bit on purpose, but that's more looking at frustration tolerance. So in therapy, you want to not do that, so never mind. So help them and then let them take over, okay? You want them to own that drawing, that creative process, whatever it is. You want them to be the owner of that. Questions so far? Okay, so talking about the drawings, okay? And so I didn't give you guys too many specific questions in terms of how you talked about the drawings, but we'll go a little bit more into detail on questions you can actually ask. You want to avoid why questions, right? Because that can come off a little challenging, a little confrontational, like, what do you mean why, right? Most kids will be like, I don't know, right? Because again, as we're doing these things, we're not necessarily cognizant or really conscious of how we're doing things and why. What I find helpful is to describe. So I see, Sandy, there's a blue circle, could be body of water, blue blob, right? So you're describing something in their drawing, and then most kids will probably give you a response of yes, no, right? And then even if you miss something that's important to them, they'll tell you about that, okay? Might say, well, yeah, because that's the lake where blah, 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 blah. I don't know if it's a lake, but okay. Okay, wonder statements. I use wonder a lot, okay? I wonder what that person's feeling, okay? You're not asking them directly, but through my intonation, I'm kind of posing it as a question, okay? Some kids might take it, they might not, but you can wonder. Okay? A little bit less challenging type of way. And really the intent is you want to convey interest, right? By saying I wonder, I'm telling you that I'm curious about your drawing. I'm invested in it enough to notice it, to say something about it. You want to convey that interest, because then that might promote them to actually open up a little bit more and describe it a little bit more so that you can see it the way that they see it.